Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I watched Ordinary Angels and absolutely loved it. So
Oh,
thank you for
great.
being a part of it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for watching it. Yeah, we're thrilled with how the movie turned out.
Um, so first off, can you explain your role as the producer and then how you became involved?
Sure. So, a producer is kind of the early stage, often advocate, and is carrying the story around and trying to find financing, which is certainly something that I did. And then also you are then working on the film once you're able to, the movie gets greenlit. You are casting and crewing and then executing in production and then involved in post and all the way up until the release of the movie. So that's what I had the good fortune to be able to do on this one. I was many years ago had a meeting with Dave Matthews, and Dave came in and he had been developing the story and working on it and had a great script, and he pitched it to me, and I was blown away by it. Uh, and I said to him, if your script is half as good as your pitch, then I'm really interested. And I read the script, and it was incredible. And when I left Warner Brothers and started producing again, I called up Dave and I said, "Hey, is that project still available? Could I come on board and help you to get it made?" And he invited me in, and pretty soon thereafter, I was having a breakfast with Nathan Kahane at Lionsgate, and I pitched him this story, and he got that passion in his belly about it as well, and he read it, and Aaron Westerman read it over there, and together the two of them just, they both cried in reading it, and they called me up and they said, we want to make this movie. And they took it on board, and then we did a couple of drafts, and then they were the ones who introduced me to the Kingdom Story Company guys, to John and Andy Irwin, and to Kevin Downs and John Gunn. And I'm so glad they did, because John Gunn directed a heck of a movie, and he did the final. We did a couple of drafts at Lionsgate. Kelly Freeman Craig did a draft, and then John did the final polish, and then together we got, the movie was greenlit, and we got to go make the movie.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, this is based on a true story.
Yeah,
Um, can you just briefly explain the true story that it's based on?
sure. So in the 1990s, there's this woman named Sharon Stevens, who I've had the good pleasure of meeting and hanging with, and she's incredible and just an inspiration and a spark plug, a go-getter. And she the movie is very accurate, very truthful, very authentic. um, she saw a newspaper article in the local paper in Louisville, and it showed this little girl who needed a liver transplant and was going to pass away if she didn't get financial support, and if she didn't get higher up on the donor list. And Sharon saw it and was so taken by the little girl's picture, and also the in the newspaper article, it said that the little girl's mother had recently passed away. So this her father, Ed Schmidt, was a widower, and had this sick little girl. And Sharon just saw it and said, "I'm gonna jump in there and I'm gonna help to save this little girl." And she's, there's a great line in the movie where, Sharon Stevens encourages Ed Schmidt to, um, just life's all about throwing yourself into opportunities, into scenarios, and then figuring it out from there. And that's exactly what she did here. And she did get five planes, and she did get Michelle onto the local news, and she started a nonprofit, and she did fundraising, and she went around and got businesses to contribute, and she was able to get the Schmidt medical debt erased from the local hospital, and she just did all of these extraordinary things, and she inserted herself. I think the movie's also accurate in that way, into the Schmidt household. And I think to a little bit to Ed Schmidt's chagrin, initially it was like, who is this lady? what is she doing in my house all the time? But he quickly became, and she became an ally and a friend to Ed. And yeah, she's remarkable. So that's the true story. And then in the also true, impossibly, but totally true. When they got the call that the liver that there was an organ ready for them, there was this freak snowstorm in Louisville, which really shut down the city, and you see it in the end of the movie in the real life news footage, and it's all true. The community came together, and the members of the Church of Southeast Christian, the congregants came together under Pastor Dave's ask, and they came together and shoveled out that parking lot, and that helicopter was able to land there and get Michelle off to the airport and then ultimately to Omaha. So that's the story. Incredible story about community and about not giving up on one another, and also just this extraordinary ordinary angel, Sharon Stevens, who just, is a hairdresser with a heart, and just decides she's going to move mountains to save this little girl, and she does.
It really is an incredible story for sure. Um, were Sharon and the Schmidts involved in the production at all?
Yeah, so Sharon, the original producer is a man who's an executive producer on the movie named Rick Baker, who's from Louisville, and had heard of the story and got the Schmidt family life rights and the life rights to Sharon Stevens. And so yeah, they were involved. Sharon, we got her memoir, which was unofficial, and then now is a published memoir. They signed off on the script. They, were advocates as we were heading into production. Hillary got a chance to speak with Sharon before going on camera, and then ultimately, when you have a true life story, actually showing the real people, the movie in the end is always a little nervous making, but they loved it, and they just thought it was winning and emotional and heartfelt and honest, and they were really pleased.
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
Um, so I hear that you fought hard for Alan Richson to be Ed. What was
yeah.
it about him that kind of made him the only man for the job?
Well, first of all, I'm so glad that ultimately he's our Ed Schmidt. I mean, I think he plays it so beautifully and quietly, and really embodies, I think, the real Ed, who was a man of few words and was this kind of big, larger than life figure. You know, I was like everybody else taken by Alan Richson. Saw the promos for Reacher and then started watching the show, and I was like, wow, this guy's amazing, and certainly like can do anything when it comes to action. And he's just great in that role. And I got a chance. I asked his agent, called up, and I called up his agent. And I asked to meet with Alan, and we had a Zoom. And I was, talking to him about action movies, and we're actually going to make something. I'm thrilled that I have this relationship with Alan now. We're going to make an action film later this year together. But in talking to him, I really got to experience his humanity, and he's like a deeply human and lovely and warm-hearted and soft-hearted individual. He's a really proud father. He's a proud, of three. He's a proud husband. He's just a good man. And he was telling me about his Christian faith, and on his Instagram, he sort of does kind of his own version of kind of a ministry through Instagram, sort of his kind of, talking to about his faith to people who follow him on Instagram. And I got this warmth from him, and I just, without having any permission from the studio or from the the director, I just felt so compelled. I was like, listen, man, I'm working on this story, and let me pitch it to you. I think you're going to really respond to this. I have no idea, by the way, coming off of Reacher, if this is at all what you're interested in doing or what you're looking to do next. And I pitched it to him, and he was completely captivated, as you know, everyone has been when you tell them this story. And he really connected to it, and he asked to read the script, and I sent it to him, and he, a couple of days later, you know, shortly thereafter, called me up and he said, I want to do this. This is incredible. This is exactly what I want to do. I'm not just somebody who, you know, punches his way out of a tough situation. You know, this is a meaty role and a great role, and I really identify with it. And so that's how it happened. And I quickly thereafter got Alan and the director together, and John Gunn fell in love with Alan and believed in him equally. And then our partners at Lionsgate, they also came on board. And look, I mean, you know, we seem like geniuses now because he's great in the movie and he's become even a bigger star. But it really just comes down to he was right dispositionally. You know what I mean? He was just he. You could feel that he had a connection to Ed, and he would play the character authentically and well.
Well, I think you made the perfect choice for sure.
Yeah, we did. He's great. I'm so thrilled that we did that, that we got that. And then I assume, you know, a follow-up question is about Hillary. And look, uh, you know, first of all, they're great together. You know, brassy and brash, and you know, doesn't take no for an answer, and with the great hair and the outfits, and she's just got a sass to her. And then she also has a brokenness that she plays really accurately in playing Sharon, and they're just fantastic opposite one another. And once we had Alan, and shortly thereafter we got Hillary, you know, two-time Academy Award winner, total pro. She showed up with the look and with the attitude and with the accent dialed in. The minute that we saw the two of them on camera together, we knew, all of us, we all kind of looked each other in the eye. You know, you're sitting there watching the actors do their thing. You're like, we've got something special here.
Um, Not only that, but like there's just a lot going into this. There's the message of find your purpose, make a difference,
Right. Yeah.
not being afraid to ask for help,
Yeah.
and also just being aware of organ donation and
Yeah.
medical costs and stuff like that. So ultimately, what is your hope that people take away from this movie?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, you know, so you know, I've had the good fortune of being involved in making movies now for quite a long while. And um, you know, if you're lucky enough that you make something that you know touches people's hearts or makes them feel something, or that something that they connect to, you're already ahead of the game. Uh, and if you're lucky enough that it resonates with them and that they, you know, I like to say, uh, it's enough if it resonates with them from their movie seat to their car seat. You know what I mean? Like on that walk, if it has power for them and they're talking about it. So that's enough. But if you're able to make something that sticks with people, and movies that are important to me have done that for me, where it's for a lifetime. You know, you're constantly, you know, the message of the movie, you're inspired by it, or you think of it or think on it occasionally. You revisit the movie. That's the power of movies, is that they have a real lifespan. You know, it's they stay in our minds and in our hearts. So um, you know, having said that, listen, if this movie just simply moves people while they're in the movie theater, that's enough, and that's you know, then I've accomplished my job as a filmmaker, and I'm proud and I'm happy. Um, but if it inspires people to, you know, take on a little piece of Sharon in their lives, and to throw themselves into something and sort of figure it out from there, to be bold, I think, and I know I experienced this too. I think we can kind of overthink things if we're like, problems can seem too big, right? And we can kind of talk ourselves out of throwing our hat in the ring or throwing ourselves into something, because it's like, well, what am I going to be able to do? I'm just like normal, I'm an ordinary person. I mean, how am I going to, help solve that problem? And hopefully they're inspired by Sharon and just go, you know what? Heck, I'm just going to throw myself in there and see what happens and figure it out from there. Because, any little difference that you can make is kind of a miracle, and will be appreciated and will make a difference.
For sure, for sure. And just in watching the film, there's at the end there's encouragement to go to organdonor.gov, and then on the website for the film there's a link to RIP medical debt.
Yeah,
So I just think it's interesting how there's almost like a call to action with all of this too.
yeah,
Um, can you just say a little
100%.
bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, and Salvation Army is also a partner with us as well. I mean, yes, there's certainly a call to action. I mean, it's there's an opportunity. I mean, all of us, I think, have an opportunity. I think it's universal, when you're applying for your license, that you can, check a box, and organ donation is something you can elect. But super important, obviously. Little Michelle wouldn't have been saved without it. Um, and then rest in peace. That organization, such an amazing organization. They're amplifying all of the dollars spent, and maximizing them. I think it's by a factor of 100. So there are thousands of dollars that have been spent, which is now translating to millions of dollars of medical debt relief, and that's a huge thing, because so many people are really, buried under financial debt when it comes to medical bills, unpaid medical bills. It's a real problem that we have in this country, and I think RIP is an amazing program to help people and give them some debt relief, because you can't, you'll feel like the oxygen is taken out of your lungs. You can't sort of figure out how to face a day tomorrow when you're facing deep debt. And then finally, Salvation Army. I mean, Salvation Army, what an organization. It's been doing it for decades, and is just there to be a support system, a social support system, to people in need, to people who are having temporary financial insecurity, having long-term financial insecurity, having residential insecurity. Salvation Army is a great organization. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's really cool that this movie hopefully can inspire people to take action. There are suggestions through these partnerships of ways that you can channel your contribution, whether it be financial or whether it be through volunteerism. Both are great options. And then helping with debt relief is amazing as well. And yeah, if anybody decides to check that box, that organ donation box, as a result of seeing the movie, then that's also cool.
I'm sure it'll move some people for sure.
I hope so.
Um, but that was my last question. So thank you so much for meeting with
Thank
me,
you.
for making the movie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a pleasure to make. And honestly, there's no better feeling than knowing that. So I'm grateful to you for seeing it, that it's touched you and people who are having an experience seeing it. It's pretty awesome. So thank you.